All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. Hello, Laura and Sarah. How are you
Hello.
ladies today?
Hi,
Great to be here. Nice to see you, Kira.
always happy to be chatting with you.
Ditto. Hello, ladies, and welcome to Smart Women in Cannabis. I'm your host, Kira Reed. Thank you for joining us today. Our guests are Laura Toomey and Sarah Falvo of the ArcView Women's Inclusion Network. Laura is the Chief of Staff, and Sarah is Director of Community for ArcView. Hello, ladies. I am so excited to talk to you today.
We're always so
Hi.
excited to talk with you. It's always the best time.
It is. We've been doing some really fun clubhouses later. We will get into later in our conversation. But I really want to start today with learning about the two of you. What is your background? How did you get into cannabis? How did you end up at ArcView? Have you always had a background or interest in investing and helping women get funding? Tell me everything, ladies. Why don't you start, Laura?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Laura Toomey, and as Kira said, I'm the Chief of Staff here at ArcView. For me, I've been in the cannabis industry about 3 years. Prior to cannabis, I was in the fashion industry. I lived in New York City for 10 years. I've been in technology, I've been in marketing, I've had experience with quite a few industries, but I didn't actually start to become interested in cannabis until I was at a marketing firm. And at the same time, my mother was actually diagnosed with two types of cancer. And I was looking at cannabis because I was like, well, this is on the precipice of federal legalization. And, it's starting to make waves. And I was starting to get really interested in what the new brands would be. And, I was obviously in marketing at that time. And I was director of new business. And I was like, we really need to take a look at this industry. And then simultaneously, my mom was going to these doctor's appointments, and I was starting to research more and more the medical benefits of cannabis. So, fast forward a few years, long story short, she's fully recovered, and that had a big part to do with cannabis. And I had met Kim Kovacs at the time and discovered that she was creating a company called My Jane, which was educating women about the health benefits of cannabis. So it just made sense for me at that point in my life to start getting more and more into this industry. I joined her as chief of staff, and then I followed her over here to ArcView Group.
That's amazing. I'm glad to hear that it helped your mom.
Yeah, it was really, truly remarkable. She's thriving now.
That's awesome. And then how did you get into finance? Was this just following an amazing leader in Kim Kovacs to whatever she was going to do, or did you actually have a background or history with finance?
I don't have a background or history with finance, but fundamentally it makes sense to me. I actually was starting a couple companies of my own at one point. So, going through the whole process of raising capital wasn't a new concept to me. I just knew that I had a lot to learn. And Kim, as a entrepreneur and investor herself, was a really good role model for me. And, I learned a lot from her. But I think that for me, it was kind of a natural progression because I wanted to help these brands to succeed, especially women-founded brands.
Awesome. All right, Sarah, you're in the hot seat now. Tell us about your background.
All right. Well, I grew up in Southern California, lived in New York for about 15 years, and came back to Southern California because this California girl, could not do those winters. So
I
kind of had
feel
a,
you.
right? I know. It's hard when you're getting old, but no, it's so basically I am a reformed nonprofit fundraiser. So I was doing major gift fundraising and galas and things like that for museums and library systems and all of that jazz for about 13 years. And I kind of had a come to Jesus moment and realized that I wanted to do something else. And it wasn't that I wanted to do what I was doing for another organization, just because it was a big grind, raising money on any level and especially professionally is just very difficult. So I just needed something new and a total drastic change. So I kept thinking about what I wanted to do and what I was passionate about. And it kept coming back to cannabis. And my husband laughs now because he's like, you made your hobby your profession. And I'm like, all right, that's true. But really, so I've been a consumer since my teenage years. My dad actually grew to pay for my preschool tuition. So I think, and just growing up in a beach town in Southern California, in the time that I did, I think it was just a natural integration of cannabis into my life. So I went to an event and entered the cannabis industry as employee number one of a cannabis specific staffing and executive search firm. So I stayed there for over 2.5 years, helped grow the business to over 20 people across 3 states, and realized I wanted to do something else. So in the smallest of worlds, we actually placed Kim Kovacs at ArcView. That was one of our things. So I got connected with Kim, and we were actually sponsors of ArcView back in the day. So I had gone to quite a lot of their events, and they were always my favorite industry events because it was a great mix of thought leadership, of, investment opportunities, and really up and coming companies. So being on the outside of ArcView, as a participant, I loved what it had to offer. So, when an opportunity came up to join ArcView, I jumped at it because I knew a lot of the people, I knew what they stood for, and I knew their history in the space too. And so, what I do now is really, I have my hands in a little bit of everything. I mean, I think that's pretty much at every single cannabis company, even MSOs at this point. But it's really about community, and that's what I personally stand for. So, what I've been doing in this space since I've came in, I've been in the cannabis industry for almost 4 years now. But when I first started, the thing for me was making connections, not superficial connections, but really like connections that would just make sense, and like also helping other people connect, because I think, it is still such a small industry that at the core of what we do, it's about the plant and it's about the connections and how we can all help each other. So, by working at ArcView, it gives me a great, bigger access to work with a bunch of different companies and kind of move all those puzzle pieces around. So I love what we're doing here. So it's been great. I love this industry.
Well, I'm so glad that we have you in it, Sarah. I love
Thank
your
you.
passion and your commitment to helping women. I'm always struck by your incredible disposition as well. You're one of the most optimistic people I've encountered in this industry, and I really do appreciate that.
Kara, thank you. Thank you. You don't see me crying in the corner and stuff like that, but that's all right. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Okay, ladies. So your main focus is the Women's Inclusion Network. So tell us about, what is it? How did it get started? What is its mission? And how can women get involved?
Yeah. How about I dive into the history, and then Sarah, do you want to tell people how to get involved?
Perfect.
I love telling this story because I'm a big fan of Jean Sullivan, who you've also met, Kira, and probably many women who are tuning in right now have come across Jean. She's incredible. But ArcView Group is traditionally known for their conferences, and they'd have a couple of conferences a year. 600 people would attend. It was really everyone interested in investing in cannabis, operators looking to raise capital. It was a really, really good networking event. And Jean Sullivan looked around and was like, well, where are all the women? Because she noticed that it was really becoming this male dominated industry and following in the footsteps of some other industries. So she took the time and organized a luncheon as part of the conferences. And about 50 women would gather and network and get to know each other. And then, when Kim Kovacs became CEO in January of last year, again, as an entrepreneur and investor herself, she's like, we really need to amplify this. There's not a lot that's going on in between the luncheons, and there could be so much more that's happening as far as connectivity. So we took it upon ourselves, a few of the employees here at ArcView who are really passionate about women helping women. And we made Women's Inclusion Network its own thing. It was traditionally called the Women's Investor Network. And we decided that that was confusing and that we wanted the Women's Inclusion Network to be for everybody. So we made it its own membership, and it's all about networking and education. And we have biweekly mentorship workshops that teach about everything from access to capital to raising capital, what's the best pathway forward, product shelf space, board seats, you name it. And we figured out that there are a lot of common threads between all of the women in our network and things that they really needed help with. So biweekly mentorship workshops was a thing for us. And we have a private Slack channel so that you can just easily communicate with other members. And we do a once a month happy hour to make sure that all of the members get to know the new members too, and also get to learn something a little bit more niche about the cannabis industry, like what is synthetic cannabis or what are terpenes. So that's a really nice way to help keep the traction going and help to, find the answers to the things that you need help with. And Sarah, do you want to tell everyone how to get involved?
Absolutely. And, in addition to even what Laura said, it's also about just being a part of a group that to make you not feel so siloed. I always say this, working in the cannabis industry can make you feel siloed just in general. When you're an entrepreneur running your own company and trying to build it up and run it and raise capital and everything, you feel even more siloed. So just knowing that you're not alone. There are so many women in all the states, in all different verticals, who are doing exactly what you're doing, and you're not alone. And it's not
That's true.
competition, it's resources,
We
it's
have
allies.
We have some women who've joined because they're the only female employee and they wanted a group of women to, talk to and just talk about their issues. Didn't mean to cut you off,
Yeah,
but
I know, but
that's
it's
exactly right.
it's perfect because really, like there's a lot of us out there and it's just finding them, so we just felt like here's a platform, here's a space, come join us because we want to have these discussions and we want to get to know the other women in the industry, because when we go to events and half the women in the room, it's a great feeling and you have to start somewhere. So I always encourage, by doing what I was doing in the past, like, how do I get into the industry? I get that question all the time. And the first thing I say is network, get yourself out there, say hi, reach out, ask for help, like just get yourself in some groups. There's so many free resources out there as well, but just get involved. So I think, for us, it was really providing the space that you could actually get all those tools for your toolbox to be a better entrepreneur or a better investor, or just have a deeper and better knowledge of the cannabis industry and the cannabis plant too, because it's all a holistic thing. And I think it all connects together, the education, the love for the plant, the building businesses, it's all connected. So we're just trying to be that, tiny little part in that connection. But it's been great. I mean, like Laura said, it started off, as the investor network, but really, now we're leaning more heavily towards the operators in the group and the entrepreneurs, which is great because it's needed. They need to hear this stuff and they want to feel part of it.
And no matter what your profession is, knowing about the plant is only going to serve you to help, be the best at that. And just to add on to Sarah's point, this industry is different than other industries. So most people don't traditionally have a cannabis background when they're coming into this. And they kind of feel like if their resources readily available, maybe it's not credible. Like the cannabis industry is very small. It's really, network heavy. So if you feel like you're meeting the right people right off the bat, you probably are.
Yeah, exactly. And even like in this last year, of the pandemic and things like that, not having those live events made everything trickier. So I think, by even you guys at WEIC building, this digital community, and like us also building like a digital community, like that was so important at that time too. And all these things are just going to grow once everybody goes back into live events. So it's really just, creating new communities. And we're at the precipice of something, like Laura said, like we are all at the precipice, and that's why there's opportunity right now. So I always encourage all women who are interested to get in some way. But I also want to say with that, have realistic expectations, so now that this is an aside, but now that the East Coast is, going legal state by state, I have all these people being like, I want to get a license. I want to open a dispensary. I'm like, let me tell you about that. Like, do you have millions of dollars? So I find an entree point that makes sense to you, whether that's just a social group to start having the conversations. But dream big, yes, but also, make sure everything's kind of grounded in reality too.
So some of the biggest problems that we face as women, probably the biggest problem we face as women in the cannabis business, is funding. And we excuse me, we can't solve that problem, but we can help. So can you talk specifically about, excuse me, the things you're going to do if you join the Women Inclusion Network? What is the help that you're going to get specifically, short of actually giving you those dollars?
Well, I think what we talked about a little bit earlier, those mentorship workshops are truly helpful. They're interactive, they're being led by industry experts. They're telling you exactly how to build your deck. They're telling you what investors look for. They're telling you what kinds of questions you should be prepared to answer. They're telling you which avenue is best for your company, right? Accredited investor versus non-accredited investor. What does it all mean? Do you really need to raise your seed round of funding? What does that even mean? We're really breaking it down. And if you're a Women's Inclusion Network member, you can join these mentorship workshops. You turn on your camera, you can ask them any questions live. We have lists of resources going from all of these workshops because we know it's not one size fits all. So what's really great is that ArcView is an 11-year-old organization. So, in the Slack channel, if you're posting for resources, there's a good chance that we probably know somebody in our network too who might be able to help with your specific need. I remember somebody was asking about a CPA the other day, and immediately like 3 women responded and said like, oh, here's this person, and then ArcView on top of it was like, yeah, just let us know if you need additional resources. So and Sarah's director of community, you get so involved with all of the women too, and get to know everyone really well. So Sarah is a natural networker too, so she tends to know many people also. Sarah, do you have other things that you wanted to add to that question?
Yeah, I think that, and yes, adding to that, part of what I do is deal flow and due diligence for our fund as well. So I do, work with a lot of companies, and I think the benefit of being in our Women's Inclusion Network is I get to know you, I get to know your company, and we get to have that conversation about, how can ArcView actually help you and your specific company. So it's really, getting to know also all of the resources that we can offer you as a larger 11-year-old organization too. And I was even going to say, one of the things we did was this specifically female founded pitch fest. So we had 10 companies on from our Women's Inclusion Network. It was only, female founded companies on that program. And then what I liked about that was, in addition to giving exposure to them for their companies, practicing their pitches in front of, 200 plus investor audience members, we continued the conversation. And I think, having other members learn from members who are in the throes of this is very important. So like Kira, we had a bunch of them on a Clubhouse, and they kind of talked about the experience, doing the quick elevator pitches, being on a female only, panel of pitching, all those things. But I think the knowledge that they can provide and that they have is beneficial to everyone. So we like to keep the conversation going. And
Yep.
we also want to see, what do those conversations lead to? What are the action items? How, as smaller groups and internally as ArcView, can we kind of move the needle too? So it's always kind of an ever evolving program too, what we're
The
doing.
conversations are very open, very honest. And like Sarah said, if the company is ready, we have all these different ecosystems within ArcView. So we have a crowdfunding platform. If you're ready to go with non-accredited investors, we have the fund that Sarah runs. And then if you need help in between, we have a consulting arm too that can help to everything from, how to perfect your pitch up to, are you ready for federal legalization? So we do have those ecosystems, but Women's Inclusion Network is first and foremost about educating and networking.
So since I've been running WEIC, I have heard from hundreds of women that they don't have the help that they need, that they don't understand the pitch process. They don't know how to talk to investors. And really, Women's Inclusion Network is answering that call. Ladies, you do have a place now that you can go if you're considering raising money and you don't know where to start, or if you need help reviewing your pitch deck because you're just not really sure if you've written it in the right way or if it's going to have the impact that you really want. What questions do you have for investors that you necessarily can't sit down and ask the people that you're pitching for money. You know, you need to come in prepared with those answers. So we do it. There is help for you now, and it exists thanks to ArcView and these incredible women here, the Women's Inclusion Network. So I want to thank you, ladies. You know, I personally am not looking for money, and I haven't been in that position, but so many women in our community are, and I haven't been able to facilitate helping them. So knowing that you are there, the fact that you actually exist and this is your mission, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this happen, for bringing this into reality, because so many women need this and will benefit from your services. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And, you know, I think when you're an entrepreneur, and like I said before, building a company from scratch, running the day to day, trying to pay your bills or figure out how you're going to even get a bank, the last thing on your mind is going in front of, like, you know, sometimes suited up investors asking for large amounts of money. So, you know, and I always, as a tip, also say, you know, if you're not the best person to pitch, like, bring someone along and you can tag team. That is not uncommon. So I want people to know that, because sometimes, like, the CEO might not be the best person to pitch. So, but yes,
And
but thank you, Tara.
I have learned a lot in our clubhouses, because what we do is we do a joint clubhouse where you bring investors and women can ask them questions. No question is off the table. And I've learned a lot of things that women kind of have misconceptions about or get locked behind certain ideas about how things should be. And the reality is that it's way off. You know, they maybe shouldn't be the ones pitching, or they maybe shouldn't see themselves as the CEO once the company gets funded. I mean, there are a lot of little ways that we kind of sabotage our own success. And part of this because we just don't know. So ladies, again, Women's Inclusion Network is the place to go for the help that you need. And I highly encourage you to check it out, because we've lived in a world where that help wasn't there, and now it is. So we have less reasons why we can't start our own businesses now.
And we approached Kira about the partnership because we were just like, you're doing incredible things too. And we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to partner, women helping women, you know? So this partnership really made a lot of sense for both of us. And we truly value each other's time.
Thank you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about inclusion and diversity. I know that the two of you and the Women's Inclusion Network are very dedicated to making sure that women of color have equal access to funding and the help that they need. And you've really gone above and beyond, and you're doing a couple of extra things in your program to make sure that we have a diverse and inclusive workforce in cannabis. Can you tell us about some of the things that you're doing in the DNI realm?
Sarah, do you want to kick this one off, and then I'll talk about?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing for this industry is that there is space for everyone. And, you know, I think just championing that message as well. And again, you know, we're a place to come to go on that journey. You know, we have a very hefty mix of all different backgrounds and all different kinds of women in our group. And just it meshes so well. So, you know, in particular, over the last 6 months or so, we've given away over $15,000 worth of Women's Inclusion Network scholarships to minorities, which has been wonderful, and we'll continue to do that. And then we're partnering with different organizations to really do a number of programs and initiatives and things like that, and really utilizing our name and our reach to get, you know, exposure for different things like social equity license applicants and things like that. And actually, we have a great program tomorrow, a webinar, and Amber Littlejohn's going to be on it, and Steve D'Angelo and
Roz
McCarthy. So we're really excited about that. So we're just continuing to partner with organizations that, you know, we can learn from, that we can help, and then can help us as well. Just, I mean, it's a full circle thing. So, you know, internally, externally, we are just trying to, you know, do the baby steps we can right now.
Absolutely. We also partnered with NCAA to help produce some white papers. There's not a lot of research about women or minorities in the cannabis industry and the amount of funding that they receive. What we stand for over here at Women's Inclusion Network is access to capital, product shelf space, C-suite representation, board seats, and salary. So, those white papers really addressed all of those issues, and it was authored by 14 incredible women in the industry. They're free to download because we want people to have access to this information. In fact, if you want to download it, it's arcviewgroup.com/NCIA. If you're interested in learning about, some of the statistics in this industry, I'd encourage you to read that. They also have accompanying toolkits, so if you want to implement this into your business, they also help you to give you best practices on how to do that. So that's really important to us too, is to bring, both qualitative and quantitative backed research, because, you know, women's stories are important, and we've heard many of them at Women's Inclusion Network. But then when you start to dig into the research and numbers to back some of those stories, that's just something that needs to be continually developed and evolved, because this industry started off as one of the most inclusive industries and then slowly started to backpedal. So instead of continuing on that momentum, we want to continue forward. And the only way we're going to do that is if we continue to partner and show some of this research.
That's amazing. I am very much looking forward to diving into those white papers. I haven't had a chance to yet, but they are on my list. Would you put them in the comments, the link to get to those reports?
Yeah. Do I just chat it?
What's that?
I just chat it to everyone?
No, we'll put it in the comments on the post in Facebook, because this will live on for people to view later.
Oh, perfect.
So we can put those links in there so that they can find the information that they need. I'm so grateful again for the work that you're doing as well, to make sure that our industry maintains that level of inclusion, because you're right. I mean, in the last 3 or 4 years, women have lost a lot of power. And, we were very excited to have an industry that we could build from the ground up and actually take some real estate in the process. And we're losing every year. Our numbers shrink, whether it's the number of women in C-suite positions or the number of women that actually own cannabis businesses. Mm-hmm. So thank you for the work that you're doing there to bring light to what's really happening in the industry.
And I'd also say thank you to the partners at NCIA, and Gail Rand really, really drove this. Jessica Billingsley co-authored it too. I mean, nice. It's a whole network of women who care passionately about this, and a few good men help too. And, it's really important to have those allies as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, we really are blessed in this industry to have so many incredible women that are so dedicated to making sure that we do have an opportunity in this industry. And I was just on another panel where they were talking about the fact that the cannabis industry really is the only industry that we've all kind of arrived at going, we can do this as a diverse and inclusive industry. We can build it that way from the beginning, but it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of people who are really dedicated to making that happen. Yep. Which kind of brings me to the next thing I want to talk to you about, which is our partnership. So Laura reached out to me last year and said, we've got the Women's Inclusion Network, and we would love to partner with Women Empowered in Cannabis. And of course, I jumped at the opportunity. I have such tremendous respect for ArcView and Jean Sullivan and everything that they've been doing at ArcView to support women. I was thrilled to hear about the Women Inclusion Network. And I just wanted to share with everyone, why did you come to WEIC, and what do you hope to get out of the partnership? What was your motivation in creating this relationship?
I mean, for us, we want to help women. It's women helping women. And you have things that you offer that we don't, and so we love all of your member speed networking events. We love all of your ongoing conversations in the social community. And we realized that what we were offering could really help your community too. So we're like, let's just partner. Let's make sure that we all, show our solidarity, because it wouldn't make sense for us to become competitors with each other. Let's partner and let's, strengthen numbers. We both have the same mission. We're not trying to take each other down. We're trying to make sure that women have all of the resources that they need. And with both organizations together, we have this incredible community who can all help each other, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, it just made sense. Like everything was complementary. You guys have a very strong focus on supply chain as well. And we don't really necessarily offer that, but that's something of interest to our members as well. So it was a win-win in
So many
many ways.
synergies.
Yes. Yes. And I've been part of the Facebook group of WEIC for years. So I've been like a lurker in the background. So, for me, I was just so excited to kind of, watch this come to life as well.
Well, I was so thrilled to receive the call and very excited to collaborate with you. Collaboration is so important for women, especially in this industry. If we are going to succeed, collaboration really is going to be the way that we're going to get there. We're not flush with funds that we can just toss out to all the ladies that are familiar to us and, that we like. We actually have to build strong networks and partnerships and collaborations. And I think it's a really important role modeling as well, that organizations can come together and recognize, like you said, Laura, what's the point in competing when, there is no company that is exactly like your company. And go ahead.
Yeah, that's what's toxic about other industries too, right? And that's something that we need to learn from also, is that in a lot of industries, because there are so finite positions for women at the top, they wind up competing against each other,
Yes.
going head to head. Queen bee syndrome start to emerge. And that's not what we were going for. We're like, no, we need to be different, because it doesn't necessarily have to be all these like hierarchical. We just need to partner and make sure that we all are getting what we need, out of the resources that we all have to provide collectively.
Yes. And that our members are getting the resources that they need. And
Exactly.
to that end, one of the things that we did in our partnership is we're hosting monthly clubhouses. We're still getting our schedule worked out just a little bit, but we have been really good about hosting clubhouses that it's just an AMA, because that's one thing that we know that women really need, is the opportunity to just get up and ask a question of an investor who's going to give you an honest answer without it jeopardizing your pitch. So we've got our monthly clubhouses. We're also going to be, you're going to be participating with us in our Women's Leadership Summit in July, on July 21st. You're going to be hosting the keynote panel about power and money for women in the industry, which I am so excited to hear about, because power around money is something that women have a very hard time with. We have a hard time admitting we want it, or really knowing how to close the deal. And then what do you do with that power when you have it? Mm-hmm. Some of the things that I hope we'll be exploring are how we keep our wealth among us. How do we invest in women, hire women, promote women? How does doing that help us keep our power? Mm-hmm. So you will be bringing some incredible investors to that conversation. I'm really looking forward to it. And then we also have an event that we're going to be doing together. And I think we decided on August.
Mm-hmm. The first week of August.
Can you tell us about that event, Laura?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first week of August, we are going to have a combined workshop where it's sort of a workshop and networking, so that you can also meet the other participants on that event. But we'll have one key investor, and we have an idea of who it will be, but we just need to wait to hear back from her. But she's incredible, and she's open and she's honest and gives amazing feedback. So she'll be doing a presentation about things that investors are looking for, what is the right path for you, kind of some of these things that we've talked about before on this call. So you'll have a chance to ask the investor questions, and then we're going to do some breakout sessions so that you get to know other women in the industry. And like Sarah said, that's the best way to really start to, get your feet wet in this industry and start to make sure that you're, on the right path for you.
Awesome. Do you want to add anything to that, Sarah?
Just it's always fun to connect with other women, so I encourage, you know, everyone listening in to keep an eye out on that. You will walk away with things to know or things learned and new connections, so those types of events are always worthwhile.
And this particular event, our clubhouses are open to anybody, but this particular event is for WEIC and Women Inclusion Network members only. But we, in our collaboration, have gotten together and we've created a joint membership. So you can join both of our organizations at the same time for a discounted rate. If you go to either womenempoweredinCannabis.com or arcview.com, and you will be able to find all the information that you need about signing up. And really, this was initiated, the joint membership was initiated by ArcView's Women Inclusion Network. And I'm really grateful that you are willing to do that, because your membership is, you know, you provide a tremendous amount of value, and you brought that membership down so that we could create a joint membership that was more affordable for more women. So really, everything that you ladies are doing, you really are trying to open doors, put out ramps, make it really easy for women to join this community and learn and get strong in their pitch and in raising money. And also the side we haven't talked about, which I do want to touch on as well quickly, how to become an investor. You know, if we want to build our wealth as women, which is really important for us to do, how do we do that outside of building a business? Can you talk a little bit about what you do to train investors?
There, you
Yeah.
gonna go first?
Sure,
He saw us both.
absolutely. So we actually have some video resources and, you know, links and things for initial first-time investors, but it's also about education about the industry. So we have quite a treasure trove of that. But a big part of learning about investing in the space is learning about the space. That's really the biggest thing, because then you'll kind of, you know, come up with your own thesis about what you want to invest in. But if you just are like, I want to invest in cannabis, okay, well, would you like to pick a vertical? Would you like to pick, you know, something specific in that vertical? So there's so many ways to go about it, including, you know, stock market type, public, private. There's crowdfunding, like Laura said before. So, you know, just the education on the industry in general, education about cannabis investing. Those are things that we offer from our end. And one of the things we also do, we have a member managed collective fund. So people buy in by voting share. And then as a group, they view deals, they do the due diligence, and then they collectively invest as a group. So that is actually like an active education on investing in space, and really, you know, gives you a front row peek into what's up and coming.
And
But
then you don't have to go it alone, which is
yes,
important to people, because it's not just you making this decision and then potentially failing because you don't know what to look for, or action by inaction. You're in it with a group of people who know exactly what they're doing.
yes, exactly. And I'm happy to say that there, you know, is a new wave of investors. You know, they're more thoughtful, they're more, you know, mindful of where they're putting their money. So they're looking for good opportunities that also can move that needle again.
You
So
had mentioned that, Sarah,
I
on a
did.
Clubhouse. Would
Yes.
you talk a little bit more about that? And this, you're specifically talking about a new generation of investors.
Yes.
And I think this is really good information for women to hear who are out there pitching, that yes, it's still dominated by the rich white man, but that demographic is changing as well.
100%. You know, I think as certain generations are now coming into a little more liquid funds and, you know, making a little more salary, having some more expendable income, they want to get into investing. And I think just due to the generational aspect of, you know, what's been going on in the last 10 years or so, they're coming at it with a different lens. And that's more about social equity. That's more about, you know, sustainability and things like that. So we're seeing a lot of more thoughtful investors. And also, you know, what we're seeing is kind of a lot of small collectives popping up. So, there's a couple women run ones. So it's all, about 10 women. They're pooling their funds together, and they are specifically investing in, BIPOC owned or specifically women run companies. So that's actually an interesting trend that I've seen pop up a lot within the last 6 months. So, for the more like early entrepreneurs, seed, pre-seed, those types, I would start to look at those types of smaller groups of investors because they are being more thoughtful with their money. But I absolutely, the tides are changing.
I would also say too that our fund is run by Jean Sullivan, who we've mentioned many times on this call, and Jeffrey Finkel, and they have a very strong stance on diversity and inclusion when it comes to that fund. And I've also seen, I mean, Jean wants women to succeed. Like she is so gracious with her time, and I've seen her give women advice, even sometimes that they don't need an investor because they're doing so well on their own. And there's this like preconceived notion that you need to at a certain point like raise money to scale, and she's like, why? Like you're doing a great job, you don't want people like
Giving away
voting.
your pie.
Yeah, and like I've seen her like give such honest advice to women, and so and like Sarah mentioned, if that's not the right avenue for the stage that your company is at, there are a lot of different avenues that are really emerging right now.
That's awesome. And they can learn more about that by joining the Women's Inclusion Network, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, ladies. So where can women find out more? Specifically, where can they follow you on social media? What is your web address? Where can they follow you personally? Where do they get access to these reports? Just lay it all on us right now.
Sure. All right. So ArcView is ArcView Group across all handles. That's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So feel free to connect across all of those handles. If you're interested in WIN specifically, the email address is win@arcviewgroup.com, and we'll give you more information about that. For me personally, I am not going to lie to you. I am pretty dismal at social media, but if you do want to follow me, it's Laura_Toomey, Toomey. And then also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm a little bit slow at getting back on social media, admittedly, and I'm sure Kira can attest to this too.
We all are at this time.
You know what? We're so busy doing all these things for Women's Inclusion Network.
That's
who's got
right.
time to do those things? But and if you follow me, it'll mostly be pictures about my husky. So there's that.
And so Laura basically said it, but for me
Have those.
personally, my Instagram, oh, mango. I love it. My Instagram is Sarah Sassy Pants. So feel free to follow for pictures of weed and my children, and probably waves. And yeah, I don't know, Laura, but for the WIN specific page where it lists out the benefits of the joint membership as well, that's arcviewgroup.com/win, WIN. And then if you scroll down, you can see all the benefits. There's also registration links, a little video, and check out our website. We have a lot of resources for free as well on there.
And the white papers, I'll repeat that one more time, arcviewgroup.com/NCIA. But if you go to the WIN homepage, it'll also redirect you there. So
nice. Great resources available. Okay, before we close out, I would love to hear from each of you. What are you ladies most looking forward to in 2021?
Ooh.
Personally or professionally? Because I feel like I am really looking forward to in-person gatherings, because I mean, like Sarah and I are both social human beings, and I think that like that human interaction has really been tough.
I'm slowly dying inside, yes. And that's actually what I was going to say too. So obviously, like, it's much needed. We'll be at MJ BizCon, and we'll be furthering that conversation with you, Kira, to maybe drum something up. But yes, in-person events, just looking forward to, being able to visit clients again and see grows and just get out there.
That's going to be amazing. What about you, Kira? What are you most looking forward to?
in-person events and getting on a plane and getting out of here.
Right?
I'm going to see my family in North Carolina next week.
Nice.
I haven't seen them since COVID started. So this is going to be a very big, I haven't been on a plane in a year and a half.
Isn't that wild? And I'm sure like you were probably like most of us. It's like this conference and then this meeting. And yes.
Yeah,
so
I had
that's
a big
awesome.
Sky Miles wallet.
Yeah. Exactly. I actually went out like to dinner or something the other night and I was like, how do I be a human again? Like, what do I wear? I don't even like, like literally what do I wear?
A little
It's so
social
weird.
awkward getting back into it.
I know.
I feel like Sarah and I talk about this all the time, but it's like it's not natural to stare at yourself in a conversation. So on all of these Zoom calls, when you're normally sitting across from somebody and talking to them. So it's like weird to have spent the past year and a half just seeing how you look to other people when you're
That
interacting.
is weird.
I know, and then you get to pick out all your flaws and how your hair doesn't look good. You have
Oh my
this
God.
much hair, and I know it drives me crazy. I can't wait till this is like not all there is.
Yes.
But we're hosting the Lady Jane Society at the end of June. And one of the things that, as I've kind of come back out into life, I realize is like, I'm kind of socially awkward. Like
This year did no one favors, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell everybody, look, I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth at least 3 times this weekend. So just forgive me and chalk it up to the fact that I have lost my social skills, because you're right, now it's just me looking at myself on Zoom.
Right.
I wish I could blame COVID for that, but I have this feeling that I've always been awkward. So.
You guys are funny. But on the flip side, it allows us to do fun things like this. You know, like
very true.
A lot of these types of things probably wouldn't have been born or done the specific way. So at least it's giving us a different type of access, we'll say.
Yeah, we can be grateful for the COVID blessings.
That's right. That's right.
Love it. All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, that was awesome. Always fun chatting with you, Kira.
It is fun chatting with you ladies as well. And if you are interested in learning more about the Women's Inclusion Network or joining us for some of our events, check out our clubhouse, WEIC. We book our sessions out of that. And then you can actually get up on stage and talk with the 3 of us.
That's right.
All right, ladies, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't yet joined the Women Empowered in Cannabis community, go to our brand new membership portal at womenempoweredInCannabis.com. There you'll find lots of information on our new memberships for women working in cannabis. You can also find us on Clubhouse as WEIC, where we host AMA rooms, like we've been talking about, with investors, with recruiters, and monthly open mics to introduce yourself to the community. WEIC is a community that provides resources, connections, events, and content to women working in cannabis in the US, Canada, and around the world where there's an interest in cannabis legalization. We welcome women who are currently working in cannabis or curious about taking a leap into the industry. Consider becoming a supporting member or supporting business for benefits and access across the network. And join us again for another conversation with smart women in cannabis. Have a wonderful day, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.